Good to see you all again here. It's a decent venue, and thank you for thank you to West Thames College for allowing us to use this great space again. We haven't got any name badges, so shall we start over there with Councillor Raza? But introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, your hobbies, that kind of thing.
Hobbies. Councillor Sarah Raza from Hounslow South Ward. Just great to be here. I love the turnout's good, and the more the better. So thank you for coming.
Councillor Sue Councillor Sue Sampson, Isleworth Ward, also Cabinet Member for Housing and Homelessness.
Councillor John Stroud-Turp, Isleworth Ward.
Councillor Salman Shaheen, Isleworth Ward and Cabinet Member for Recreation, Public Spaces and Parking.
Okay, I'm Tony Lukey, Councillor Rosslyn, Spring Grove Ward.
I'm Karen Smith, Councillor for Hounslow South.
And I'm Tom Bruce, Councillor for Hounslow South and Cabinet Member for Regeneration and Development.
My name's Jenny Hazer, I'm Clerk to the Committee.
That's all right, let you off. Like to introduce yourself, Bill?
I'm Bill Lee, I'm Clerk to the Committee. And pardon the lateness there, I was just downstairs chatting to the police officers. Sorry about that.
All right, thank you. We'll start off. Any apologies for absence? Anyone got them? I've got a couple. Got apologies from Councillor Unsa Chowdhury and apologies from Councillor Aftab Siddiqui, both from Osterley and Spring Grove Ward. Otherwise, everyone's here. Any declarations of interest from any of the councillors on any of the items on the agenda? All right, good. I've got next. I've got minutes of the meeting held on the 6th of July and any matters arising. Can we leave that to the end, councillors? Is that okay? Well, if you can remind us, please, Bill. Yeah. We'll do that. So we can get stuck in with local policing update. We've got. We're back down to 2 now. Introduce yourselves. I know who you are, and I know who you are. But if you can introduce yourselves and tell us where you work. What you do, star sign.
Hello, I am PC Jessica Horton. I am the dedicated ward officer for Osterley and Spring Grove.
Good evening, it's Sergeant Hussein Zadeh, responsible for Hounslow South and Isleworth, plus 2 other areas which is not represented here. Hounslow Central and East.
Local policing update. We assume people have read the agenda or been able to look at the agenda, and I'll ask the officers any highlights since from either of your wards or all your wards since the last meeting in July, please. And then councillors ask questions, and then after that, members of the public can ask questions.
Yeah, the only change that I have to mention is resourcing number of officers. My ward is fully staffed, so we have got extra officers which came to Hounslow neighborhood. So I got 2 officers, 1 PCSO for each ward. And as of 18th of September, we are fully staffed, basically. And if there is any question regarding the report, happy to answer.
And any highlights, Sergeant?
Highlights, basically, we have done lots of high visibility patrol. There was an incident affecting a number of, basically some of them are affected few people, so I can't mention, but there was an incident which took few months to resolve, a neighborhood issue, which we have dealt with other agencies like NHS, and that has been resolved. But I can't mention because it's just a private matter between neighbors.
Fair enough. Jess?
Just one thing, this does affect all wards, but it specifically affects Osterley as well. With cycle thefts, we have received funding from our inspector for bike register. So I myself have done 3 bike marking events recently and plan to do more. So that's not just the stickers which we put on bikes. We actually got funding for the better ones, which is the ink that actually etches into the frame. So look to see some bike marking events being published by all wards. So that was good news with the funding.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, any questions? We've got a full complement here, all 3 wards represented. Yes, no? Councillor Stroud.
Yeah, great news that you're fully up to strength on the teams. Because as a council, we were told recently that there'd been a rejigging, and some of the officers who were actually on the council's team have now moved to your team. Do you see that as an ongoing thing? Do you hope to keep that full staffing going forward, or is this just the initial surge, and will it be maintained?
Yeah, I do agree that we had to bring officers from other team, but that is for the 3 months period. But we got other officers joining us on January under a scheme called Police Now. So we are hoping to kind of send them back to their units or other places. This is an interim matter, just to cover the area at the moment, or the shortage.
But I suppose you're confident that you're going to keep the teams fully staffed going forward. I understand from what we heard from the area commander that you're a target area for recruitment for new officers, and et cetera, so, which is something we're obviously very keen to see.
Yes, we have been assured that we are getting new officers in January under the Police Now scheme. If you got anything.
Any other councillors? Any questions? Sorry, Sire.
That's all right.
Councillor Raza.
Thank you. Just ever so quickly, if officers are pulled, or will they be pulled to other neighbouring wards, of course, then you'll have less officers in those wards. Will that be happening, or are we going to be limiting their movements?
At the moment, there hasn't been any speak of moving individual officers from wards. The rejigging that we're mentioning is from other neighbourhood departments, such as the neighbourhood tasking team and the locally funded team. So in terms of officers on their particular wards, the DWOs, the dedicated ward officers, will be staying put at the moment. There isn't any talk of swapping officers around.
Just one from me. What's the strength of Osterley and Spring Grove ward at the moment? Officers on the ground.
Unfortunately, Osterley hasn't received any of the uplift, so it is just myself at the moment.
Yourself supported by your sergeant?
Supported by my sergeant, yes.
Okay. All right. Any indication for Osterley and Spring Grove ward yet?
I haven't received any indication.
Last, no, that's okay. All right. But thank you for the work that you do down there. Jess, any and people, put your hands up for any residents want to ask questions of our police. You're satisfied, are you? So far? Okay. Oh, that's all right then. It's a cheap gig. Thank you for coming. We'll see you in November, but obviously before, we've got a ward panel in. Yeah, Mrs. Charanjeet. You need a mic, otherwise your public won't hear you out there.
Well, I think I'm loud enough, but never mind. I mean, I know this particular meeting is of the 4 wards around here. when it comes to criminal activity, criminals do not confine themselves to particular wards. So how are things dealt with from policing perspective? Because there are lots of issues in relation to certain streets where there may be drugs going on, there may be young people gathering in such a way that older folk like us feel rather insecure. So what is going on in relation to that? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Singh. Any comments on cross-border, cross-boundary crime?
Yes, on that cross-border, basically working together, we have created a car which is S&T car, which means a couple of officers each day from one ward going to other areas across the Hounslow and patrol those areas, and if there is any activity happening. And also we are supporting each other. For example, I'm responsible for 4 areas. If there is officers, for example, something happening in one ward which officers are not there, I send my other unit from somewhere else to cover those areas. We are working together. We understand working together, partnership working. So, and the new things that I mentioned is S&T cars, which each day going to different wards, working together.
Can I just ask, one of my residents earlier on mentioned, obviously Spring Grove resident asked earlier on how the police patrol in the town centre. You've got the town centre, you've got Hounslow East and Hounslow Central Ward in your in your area, Sergeant. Lady saw somebody relieving themselves outside off the bus stop there on the beginning part of the high street. Rough sleepers and similar. How the police working on those matters and situations? I would imagine Montague Road car park is still a mess, even though it's right up opposite your police station. What's happening there?
I believe I spoke with this lady with this concern as well. So we will be improving our partnership with the Safer Communities officers that are present. They were at our stall. I don't know if you managed to speak with them, but we're working with the vagrancy team, the homeless team, and potentially also the asylum team to see if there's any links there. It's not just about moving them on, but as well getting them the help they need. So we're going to maybe be strengthening that aspect of rather than just us moving them on, because that unfortunately only displaces the problem, but rather working with actually getting them a help and long-term solution. So that's the approach we're going to start taking a bit more strongly.
Well, that's good. I wasn't really talking about I wasn't talking about moving them on. I was talking about sorting it out really, and that doesn't include moving them on, but to somewhere better. I would say, and I think most people will agree that. All right, thank you. Right, that it? Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, always a pleasure. Yeah, see you at the award panel next month. Yeah. Sorry, who now? Anything that you don't know already, Mr. Singh? Give him the mic, thanks. Sorry, officers. Just speak to it.
That's fine. Sorry to delay your departure. Thank you very much for staying a bit longer. What I was worried about was that at some stage there was quite a lot of emphasis on designing out crime from the various boroughs, inner London boroughs as well as outer boroughs, you see. But nowadays, I'm not sure how is it happening. For example, there is, I live quite close to Hounslow British Rail Station, and there is a scheme there. We received a letter today from the council that it's going to be some sort of department store on the ground floor and some flats, perhaps 7 or 10 upstairs and all that. But I was just wondering about, okay, there are some shops there and other department store, maybe Tesco or Morrison's or Marks and Spencer, we don't know, you see. It's certainly going to increase the activity a lot more. And when the crime increased just few years ago, cameras were installed there. That worked in a wonderful way. Crime rate came down and that area was considered to be safe again. But those cameras were removed. Now, my question is two ways. One is, how many cameras have been there installed more than before in the boroughs, different areas, you see? That's one thing. The other thing is, are the developers or planning people sending their planning applications to the police and the local authorities considering designing out crime?
If the officers could answer any of that, but I would say the no, take the mic away. I would say the cameras are council cameras around that area, and although we do have planners here tonight, and any applications that come in are examined for designing out crime with police support. If that will do you for the now. Ajit, let the officers on their way. We have a director of planning here tonight to talk about enforcement. So let's leave it at that if that's okay. Thanks. Thanks again. Cheers. We now have our colleagues from Transport for London, Eleanor and Ian. Eleanor is our link with Transport for London. So when we have various issues, councillors will contact them. Ostensibly today they've come on to talk about bus route extensions. Have we got? Is there yeah. Gary's got the slide presentation. So if we, and then we've got questions from councillors on this and any other issues. We've sent you some questions already, and then same to yourselves on the matters that we're on the matters we're here to discuss. How's it looking? He's got the wrong one. All right.
Because I had to ask Eleanor for a...
Yeah, no, I believe you. I believe you. I believe you. I believe you. There you go. Huh? There you go. The magic bus. Take it away.
Hi, I'm Eleanor. I work in TfL's local engagement team.
Good evening. My name's Ian Killingbeck, also from the local communities and partnerships team, the engagement team at TfL.
So here this evening to talk to you about two proposals that we're consulting on. So one is for a brand new bus route, which will be the 618, and the other is an extension to the existing route E1. So I'm just going to go through this brief presentation and then welcome any feedback or questions that you have at the end about the proposals. So this map that's up here on the screen shows the proposed 618 bus route, which would provide new direct links to Isleworth schools for students living south of Scion Lane. So it would run along Scion Lane, London Road, down Bridge Road, Wharton Road, and then down Twickenham Road, and then Somerwood Road. Just moving to this slide. So we're proposing to introduce this new bus route to cater for a growing number of students at the Boulder Academy, but it would also serve other schools in the area, such as Nishcombe and Green School. So what you can see on this map here, the dark orange line is showing the current H91 route, and the light orange line is showing the current H28 route. And what you can see is that students living in Isleworth, and particularly around the Ivory Bridge estate, are currently underserved by bus services, so they're not being picked up by either the H28 or the H91. So this proposed new route would address this problem. So we are proposing to operate one journey in each peak. So it would arrive in Osterley in the morning at 8:25, ready for the start of the school day, and then it would depart Monday to Thursday at 4:10 in the afternoon. And then through our engagement with the Boulder Academy, we understand that they finish earlier on a Friday, and so the proposal would be on a Friday that the bus would leave at 1:40. There's possibility to adjust these times if we see that it's not working, but we expect from our chats with the school that these times would work. And this is all subject to consultation, which is open now until the 18th of October. And if that is then approved after consultation, the changes would be introduced from early 2024. So that is the 618 route, and then I will just talk you through the E1 route. So this route is proposed to improve links with Ealing Town Centre. So we'll be extending the E1 via South Ealing Road, Great West Road, and Scion Lane. And it would offer new direct links and extra capacity between Ealing, Brentford, and Osterley. So we're proposing that the E1 would run every 10 minutes at peak times and every 15 minutes in off-peak times. And again, this is subject to consultation. The E1 and the 618 route, we're running a dual consultation. So both are open until the 18th of October. And again, these changes would be introduced in early 2024. So I can provide the council with a link to the consultation. Be useful to perhaps put in the minutes, and welcome any feedback or any questions that you guys have in relation to those proposals.
Okay, thank you, Eleanor. Councillors, Councillor Salma Shaheen.
Well, thank you very much for that. Feedback from me would be very positive. I think definitely go ahead with these routes. Particularly enthused by the school bus route. I think Twickenham Road is particularly fouled by traffic. It's a main arterial route, and during the school run, it's chaos. And I think it obviously is the school run that's causing the issue, because I used to live on Twickenham Road for a number of years, and I'd take the bus every single day to work along the Twickenham Road. And during school holidays, you could sail down there in a matter of a couple of minutes. But during the school run, during term time, it could be 15 minutes on the bus down there. So the parents on the school run clearly are, fouling up that road, and I think it's very important that a school bus route is introduced, and I would wholly support that. So I think, and not before its time as well.
Thank you, Simon. Councillor Tom Bruce.
Thank you. Yeah, equally supportive of both of these. Just checking on the 618, that will be in addition to the current buses that serve the school, the two that leave around about 4 o'clock, the H28s. It was not going to replace either of those timings or those buses.
No, the H91 and the H28 will still run, and we also last academic year added one extra H28 bus, both in the morning and the afternoon peak, specifically to cater for children from the Boulder Academy, and that will also remain in place.
So now there are 3 H28s plus the H91. I mean, the sort of end of school time. It was a while ago I visited, but when I did visit, maybe 2.5 years ago, the issue was there were very few buses after school. Coming in the morning's fine, but it was after school that everyone was trying to get on the same bus, and then people were hanging around and all those kind of things. So if there's an extra bus and this, hopefully that alleviates quite a lot of the issues that they were certainly having then. I assume this has been received very positively by the school.
Yeah, it has been received positively, and the second slide that you saw, the heat map of students, was provided to us by Boulder Academy, so we're working really closely with them to make sure that the routes serve the school, because it's a new school, so the population of children is going to continue to grow. And one of the good things about bus routes is we can respond to that demand and we can be flexible with it. So, yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Sorry, John, did you indicate earlier on? Anyone else? I saw your heat map there. I'll go back to it. That was provided by Boulder Academy. What discussion have you had with the neighbouring school, Nishcombe School, West London, with regards to these proposals and any feedback from them? And have you had any? What have you had similar to this from that school?
So we've spoken to Boulder Academy, we've also met with Green School for Boys and Girls, and we've also met with Nishcombe School, and all are supportive of these proposals. We have asked Nishcombe School to provide us with a similar heat map to see where their students are from, so that, again, we can look in the future to extend routes if possible. We haven't heard back from the school yet, but we'll continue to have discussions with them.
Okay, thanks. And both schools are in Osterley and Spring Grove ward. We've had some communication. I don't know if he's here at all. Councillor John Martin from there you go, that fella up there. He's Councillor John Martin from Norwood Green ward in London Borough of Ealing. Now I'll let him ask the question actually, even though he's not a ratepayer. Let's give him the first opportunity as a member of the audience, and then we'll pass it on to the rest of the audience on any TfL matters that that you want to ask questions on, as soon as we've got these good people here.
Thanks very much, and I don't want to steal your evening. Obviously, Councillor from Norwood Green, if you look at that heat map that's there is very little or no service from Norwood Green. And as we're looking at active travel across the boroughs, we have a lot of children that come to Nishcombe, go to the Green School, and there is very little service. In fact, no service, unless you have to get 2 buses. Is there any way that we can consider, or at least start the conversation about possibly extending one of these routes to follow along Windmill Lane? I know that we as a borough have already had conversations with you, but they don't seem to have gone very far. Norwood Green particularly is lacking in any bus service at all. We have elderly community. I've put a proposal together for a bus route from Ealing Hospital through to West Middlesex Hospital, and it just doesn't seem to have been considered favourably, and I just don't understand why, because I do think that there's a lot of residents here, and I'm sorry to take over your evening here, but who probably would look at going to West Mid and look at possibly going to Ealing Hospital. So that's something, if you wouldn't mind considering. I want to work with Hounslow on getting better transport for systems, so if that could be considered, I'd be much appreciated, and I know the residents of Norwood Green and Southall would certainly look at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And would you like to come back on that now? Thanks.
Thank you very much for your comments. So just to say that this is a consultation, so this proposal isn't set in stone. I will pass those comments back on to our bus planning team, but I would also encourage you to respond directly to the consultation as well. And one of the great things about the bus network is we're constantly reviewing it, and we can make changes to reflect customer needs. So I will definitely take that away and share with our bus planning team.
Can I just add as well? We have been talking to your officers. I was in a meeting actually with some of your transport officers, specifically looking at it's their piece of work actually in terms of hospitals and bus routes and links. two hospitals in West London, not only Ealing Hospital, but West Mids. So that is an active kind of piece of work they're looking at with our bus colleagues. But as Eleanor's just explained, yeah, we can look at that. But I know it's a kind of priority for Ealing to look at that. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Barbara Striat from Osterley White Green Residents Association.
Thank you. Yes, we would be very supportive of both of the bus routes. And I'm very pleased that Councillor Martin is here because let me just backtrack. So we had a meeting on the 22nd of February. We had a walkabout from Gillette Corner to Osterley Station with some of your colleagues. And we were hoping to have a follow-up meeting in July, but we know that couldn't take place. And we haven't yet had another date for a meeting. And I submitted 8 issues that we looked at and that we would like some answers to, and very much support this need for a bus to go up Windmill Lane up to Ealing Hospital, but also to connect us with the Elizabeth line. Now we realise that there's a problem in getting a bus over 3 bridges, but maybe the bus could go along Tenterlow Lane and up to Southall Station. I mean, 3 bridges would be a problem, but quite a few of us here will remember when along the A4 there were only 2 lanes with a bridge over the canal by the current GSK, and that was eventually extended to 3 lanes on each side. So presumably that can be done. And whilst we're waiting for the Brentford-Southall rail link to be introduced, which might be 10, 20, 30 years, because there isn't the money for that, this is something that we would really ask you to do. Now, I raised this back in February. I know that Councillor Martin's raised it. I know our councillors have raised it. Can this please be moved up the urgency list, particularly as we want to encourage people to use sustainable travel? The Boulder Academy heat map has been very useful. We have been asking the Nishcam School for 5 years for a heat map of their pupils so that we can compare it to the heat map that was produced for the planning application. So if you could please put some pressure on the school to submit something like this, I think we would be very grateful. I'll leave it at that for the moment. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Barbara. I don't recognise you. So, you've had your hair cut.
Thank you. Really interested by the map. I'm assuming that one red spot does equal a student. So down in the Ivy Bridge, there's probably a concentration of 12 or 13 students. Unfortunately, Eyes of the Design, we've not been asked to provide a heat map, and I'd be very happy to actually do so. We are still in favour of the scheme because we ourselves have a lot of students down on the Ivy Bridge estate. Just seems from the heat map that both east and west going down the A4, there seems to be a lot more than 10 or 12 different students. And my experience in terms of anecdotal evidence, as has already been mentioned by one of the councillors, is at 3 o'clock, 3:15, on the A4, the H90 the H91 kind of buses are absolutely rammed. And being a person in charge of safeguarding and also health and safety are a real major issue. And so I would encourage TfL to consider either more H91s, or just like the COVID style, there was a student-only buses. I'm right in my thinking, aren't I, that the bus going through Boulder is not just for Boulder students?
Yeah, that's correct. And this proposed route as well wouldn't be a school-only route.
Okay, great. So I'm just wonder whether you can give consideration to. It's really good to have the council here from Norwood Green, because I have a lot of students coming in from Cranford and Heston, and it is a real safety issue between 3 and 4 o'clock. Some of the buses, some of my students report being at the bus stop for over an hour as the H91s just go flying by.
Thank you, Simon. Can I just say that Councillor Chowdhury, she's not here tonight, she's not able to be here tonight, but in response to the consultation, she's already asked for consideration of more buses, either H91s or instead of the E1 stopping at Tesco, letting it go up as far as taking it up to Hounslow West station, even further. I mean, they used to stop at the Queen's Head in Cranford back in the day, the 91s, but I'm too old to remember that. Yeah, if you want to respond to Simon, and then I'll throw it open to more folk.
Yeah, thank you for your feedback, Simon. Would definitely welcome a meeting and any information that you have in terms of a heat map like this for your students. And I'll take it away and raise it with our bus colleagues to look at.
Thank you, Ellie. Any others? Lady there?
Tony, first me. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, first you. You grabbed that quick, yeah. All right,
just
go
to
on then,
mention,
George.
okay, we spoke about Nishcam and Boulder. There's some very good schools in Norwood Green. One of them is William Perkins. My daughter got accepted there this year, and she decided not to go there because there's no direct link. We live in Osterley, between us and Norwood Green. So it's also not just kids coming to visit Nishcam and Boulder, but also other kids who want to go to Norwood Green, to go to William Perkins and other schools in there. So that's also to just support the councillor back there. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Lady there?
Yeah, it's Fan Palmer. It was just picking up on the comment about the Twickenham Road. And I'm not sure it's all down to parents, because certainly on a Saturday, for example, Twickenham Road is really busy, and I just thought while TfL were here, the 267 is horribly slow along that stretch. I don't know if there are any plans other than having this one school bus to try and relieve things there a bit, because you just can't really get the bus and sort of assume you're going to arrive where you want to get to on time.
Thanks.
I'm not aware of any plans, but again, I can take it away and ask our bus colleagues. They're, like I said, constantly reviewing the bus network, and if we get reports that there are issues in terms of overcrowding on buses or bus speeds being slow, then they can look into that and run some tests. So they do rely a lot on the data, so I can raise that and see if they can look into it.
Where do you live? What road are you on? Which one? The Maltings? Yeah. You've got 3 of your councillors here as well, so maybe pick up with them at some point.
Well, if TfL were here, I'd ask TfL.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, they'll advocate for you.
And I think probably I disagree with my councillor that Twickenham Road is quiet when the schools are closed, because that isn't my experience.
Oh, there you go. There you go. You get up late. You used to get up late. Marcia, over there. Oh.
Hello. You said that there was, for the school bus, there's only going to be one a day, one each way, right? So far, we've got Boulders, Nishcram, Green School, Isleworth and Sion. It's being planned around Boulders. I would wonder whether there's more beneficial to, you're then as such not providing a bus on Friday afternoon for the rest of the schools. I think you need to look at more buses, and where will it be stopping off on the way? Where will it leave the Ivy Bridge and go straight there? Where will it stop? Will it stop at the normal bus stops? But I think you need to consider to have more. And then my other thought is, with the E1 as well, what is going to happen with all these buses up on Sion Lane, which also gets very congested and difficult to move? Has that impact been thought of? And that is really my concern, that you need, I actually think you need more buses, especially for the schools, than you are allowing. That would be my thoughts on it.
All right, thanks. One more question before, and then we'll let Ellie wrap it up. Dominic West.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add to what others have said, we also welcome
any additional bus services in the area in the context of having had a 6% cut in buses in the last couple of years, particularly the H37, which is struggling. So this is welcome. A couple of points on the 618. No one's mentioned it, but I'm assuming it will be a double-decker. Otherwise, there isn't much point in having a bus carrying about 40 people, because from the comments we've heard tonight, we may need more than one bus at that particular time of the day. I have to concur with others that with all the concentration of secondary schools at Bush Corner, trying to get on a bus between Brentford and Hounslow any time between 8 and 9 in the morning or between 3 and 4 in the afternoon, just don't bother. Also slightly concerned that we're going to be under another proposal. There I mentioned the initial CS9. We have the threat of losing bus lanes along London Road. Talking of bus lanes, it would be nice to get some bus lanes on Twickenham Road. As others have said, there's tremendous delays down there. The 267, you can read, War and Peace on it by the time you get on and get off. It would be nice to get a bus lane running through, past down to the Richmond boundary, to the A316 roundabout. Unfortunately, that's in Richmond, and Hounslow don't talk to Richmond. So I've said it before, I'll say it again. Can we please have a bus lane running from the borough boundary through Richmond to the A316 roundabout so that buses can actually get a chance to improve their journey times? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ellie, Ian, your comments on Marshall Reeves, what Marshall raised and what Dominic's raised, and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah, so you can confirm that it will be a double-deck bus, which typically carries about 85 passengers, and it will use the existing bus stops. In terms of your other feedback, in terms of the frequency, I'll pass that on to our bus colleagues, but I would encourage you to respond formally to the consultation. But I will be looking at the minutes of this meeting afterwards, and I can pass it on to our bus colleagues to look at.
I think, yeah, just to add, obviously, as Ellen's sort of explained, obviously buses are flexible and we can provide more if need be. Obviously, the proposals have been designed on the kind of figures and demand we're looking at. So the bus planners are kind of planning it on that basis in terms of the capacity. But obviously, if that capacity is greater, then we need to review that and provide more buses if we can, and if we can afford that, obviously. Because it's always, yes, we need to understand the kind of costs to running these operations as well. I think just on bus lanes on Twickenham Road, as Ellen has just explained, yes, we will take that back. I think it is a borough road thing. Is it a borough road, Twickenham Road?
It is a borough road, it's not TfL.
Yeah. So obviously, yeah, we will need to speak to your transport officers around if it's got the capacity for a bus lane, etc. So we will need to look at that, if it could be achieved.
Okay, thanks. If you do have a word and it is acceptable, give us the money for it as well. That would be nice. But thank you very much for coming. Encourage everybody to respond to the consultations. We've got them. If you haven't got them, if you can't find the link, give us a shout. Your ward councillors a shout. We'll get that to you. But thanks very much thanks very much. We'll do it again. There are plenty of other issues that, as you know, we talk about from time to time. Further surface crossing on the Great West Road would be nice near Osterley Station, but plenty of other stuff. But thank you very much.
So I should say the gentleman referenced Cycleway 9, and obviously we're going to be looking at those plans in the future, so we can absolutely come back and talk about those if
all right, bring a helmet. But we a number of us have put comments in about that, passes through our ward, particularly from near Isleworth Station. So we'd welcome the opportunity to talk about that, very much so, even if it's just a special meeting. Thanks. Thanks very much. Safe journey home. Yeah? Oh. You stand there, are you? Well, you come on. There's 3 chairs there, if you want to take one as well, Matthew. All right. Sorry, I've jumped the gun and get these officers in. We've got an open forum, but we'll do that after this, if that's okay. All right. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen, seeing as they're here. Would you like to introduce yourselves? And is there a presentation prime there, Gary? All right, cheers, man.
Thank you, Chair. And good evening, everyone. We'll do some introductions. So I'm Vincent Lacavara. I'm the Director of Planning and Buildings at the Hounslow Council. And to my left...
Hello, my name is Matthew Rees. I'm Head of Development Management.
And to my right...
Yeah, hi, I'm Matt Robinson. I'm the Planning Enforcement Team Leader.
Thank you. I think we've got some slides. Thank you. Here we go. So firstly, thank you for inviting me this evening. We're going to take you through a few slides introducing the planning enforcement function of the council and how it operates, and some locally specific examples. And happy to take any questions that councillors and members of the public have for us. So, role of planning enforcement. I won't read through all the bullet points because a lot of this was in the papers that were shared. But in a nutshell, the planning enforcement team, led by Matt to my right, investigate breaches of planning control that they're made aware of. So that could be through members of the public and councillors drawing our attention to potential breaches of planning control. They will investigate those breaches and then follow up where there is a breach on remedial action. So in the first instance, the emphasis is on finding solutions. So a lot of the work that the team does is on working with landowners and developers on trying to find solutions to the issues that have been raised. Sometimes that can be through retrospective planning applications, which I know are not popular, but they're part of the toolbox. There'll be instances as well where the level of the breach is such that there's a judgment made around the expediency of taking action, and it could be that we decide that the harm is such or there's not sufficient harm to warrant action being taken. But we do pursue some breaches through to enforcement action, serving of notices, and sometimes all the way through to prosecution. And in those instances, the team will appear as witnesses at magistrates' courts in order to defend those cases that we take to court around prosecutions. And that process can, as many of you will be aware, can take some time. We deal with breaches of planning regulations where it's expedient for us to do so. And there's some examples there, the sorts of things that regularly come up. So unauthorised residential development, beds in sheds, big one, and has been traditionally historically in Hounslow, illegal works to protected trees, listed buildings, unauthorised advertising, signage, and breaches of conditions of planning approvals. But there's a whole load of stuff that planning enforcement doesn't do. That doesn't mean to say that these issues aren't raised with the team, and where they are, we try to make sure that the right team in the council picks the right issue up, so that we're not wasting people's time when they report issues. But there are some things, and those of you that have reported issues to us in the past may have heard us say that it's a civil matter, and that's effectively where it's an issue between private landowners, property owners, to be resolved between those property owners, and that's sometimes a difficult message to pass across, but quite regularly that is the case. You can see there's some other things there: building regulations, environmental health, licensing, and some highways issues, malicious or vexatious reports that we do get from time to time. But as I said, what we seek to do where we get those requests coming in is make sure that we're directing things to the right teams in the council where we can. In terms of the team, you can see there Matthew Rees is the Head of Development Management to my left, and Matt Robinson to my right reports to him. It's a small but perfectly formed team, so we're very fortunate at Hounslow to have a planning enforcement team and a team of officers working on planning enforcement. Like other aspects of planning, they're difficult to recruit to posts and difficult to retain skilled and experienced planning enforcement officers, but we do have a good planning enforcement team here at Hounslow. But you can see from the size of that team, it's relatively small, and we've got a whole borough that we're looking after. So we do have to prioritise, and that's where part of where this concept of expediency comes in. So we have to be confident around the priorities that we take around which cases that we pursue. I won't read through that because it's a big load of writing, but it basically describes what I've said, that we have to strike a balance between the harm that's caused and other considerations around whether and how to take a case forward. And as it says there, the vast majority of cases are resolved through negotiation, and that's good. That's a good outcome. Not everyone, when they go into developing, is fully aware of all of the issues that may arise through that. And it's our job to make sure that we're getting the right outcome, working with all parties in the public interest to resolve any issues. But then when formal action is taken, in many instances, and we do take formal action when it's necessary, that formal action can be appealed. So there's a right of appeal to an enforcement notice, and that can extend the process. And as I've said before, for any of you that have been involved in this, you know that it can take some time to follow up an enforcement case all the way through. Just as a bit of an overview of the level of workload for the team, so you see new and closed cases, there was a big peak around 2015, 2016, long before I joined. So I joined the council in December last year, but I know that Matt and Matthew have been here a bit longer, and there was a big peak of workload a few years ago, and that's come down somewhat, partly due to the work of the team, focusing on things like beds in sheds, which was a bigger issue a few years ago. And you can see some of the stats there around the number of cases opened and closed within the years. And what's really good around that one is that you can see that we're on top of the caseload, and other authorities certainly aren't in that position. So we're closing cases that have been brought to our attention. So we haven't got a huge backlog. In terms of total number of cases, that just says the same story really. There was a peak around a higher workload back in 2015-16, and then that's come down over more recent years. And the slide on the left is a snapshot of that peak year where caseload had gone up to something like 1,000 investigations. We're now around 450, 500, round about. Court prosecution, so we are successful at Hounslow when we pursue cases through, and we do, and we've had a couple very recently where we've pursued some enforcement cases right through the courts, and we've been successful, and the property owners have been prosecuted and had to pay significant fines, and that's good for a number of reasons, but one of them is it sends a message that when we do pursue these cases and we're successful, it sends a message out that we will take it seriously when there's a serious breach of planning control. And we also then sometimes receive the fine proceeds of crime award as well. So that there's a significant deterrent there as well for people to take it seriously. And there's just a couple of the examples, the recent ones. So there's Craigswell Avenue in Feltham, where there's a fine of 23,000, just over 23,000. And more recently, 337 Jersey Road, with a total fine of £300,000, and obviously prosecutions for the individuals involved as well. So a few examples. Did you, yeah? This is not the updated one. Oh, is these not the updated slides? Okay. So we had sent through some updated slides. I don't think, are they in the pack?
Don't worry about it. Let's publish
Okay.
let's publish the other one next time in the minutes.
I think Matt would be able to, off the top of his head, be able to remember which ones they were and describe them, probably.
Yeah, so we had a case in Hounslow South, Alex Road, which was a self-contained unit above to the rear of a dwelling house. The matter had been going on for about 2 or 3 years. It ended up in a public inquiry, and the landowner was required to demolish the first floor extension. That was the one in Hounslow South. The one we had in Isleworth was Thanet House. Now this was reported back in 2011, which related to some unauthorised UPVC windows to a Grade 2 listed building, and we prosecuted the owner probably about 7 or 8 years later. It just took so long to liaise with the owner and get compliance. But recently we've managed to require, he's changed those 15 or so windows to timber windows, which is fantastic, and changed the front door and the fan light, which is fantastic. The other one of interest, I'm just trying to think of the one in Osterley, Springgrove. We had a recent prosecution for a tree which was felled on Academy Place. The owner and the arborist were both prosecuted, which is fantastic. And we're just currently liaising with the owner about replacing that tree. We served a tree replacement notice. So I'm hopeful that we'll get a good species to replace what was felled, and that was a cedar tree.
Thanks, Matt, and well remembered. Without the prompts of the slides, put you on the spot there. And then more broadly across Hounslow, just achievements from 2022, so from last year, 54 unauthorised structures demolished. We removed 48 illegal adverts, stopped the use of 11 unauthorised businesses, and stopped the use of 34 illegal dwellings. In this particular area, so investigations make up 18% of our new cases so far this year, 23-24. They're predominantly household extensions, outbuildings and tree cases. High-profile cases associated with multi-storey developments, listed buildings and works within conservation areas. And 7 of 16 prosecutions since the start of 21 have been in this area. Changing the behaviour of developers. We're not going to be able to change the behaviour of all developers, and there'll always be those unscrupulous developers and construction companies that don't do things properly. But part of what we're doing by sending the message out through those prosecutions and through the enforcement that we do take is demonstrating that we are prepared to do that when necessary. There's active management of our cases, so you can see we haven't got a backlog as other boroughs do have, so we're on top of our cases. So case management, publication of prosecutions I've already mentioned, informing and engaging with the public, and this evening is part of that. It's really important. I was speaking to some people before we started, and we do really welcome members of the public alerting us to potential breaches. You're the eyes and ears. There's a small team. We're not able to be out and across the borough constantly checking every development. So it's really important that people do feel that they can approach us and report potential breaches. We'll do our best to keep on top of all of those. As, you know, it's a large borough and a small team, and we do have to prioritise, but we do really welcome that. And then we've targeted portfolio criminal landlords, and one of those prosecutions, those recent prosecutions from July, was one of those landlord cases. So what's that resulted in? So new case numbers have reduced year on year, and developers are less likely to try it on, but there, as I said, there will always be those. We'll never completely eradicate that, so it is about having the eyes and ears on the street, being able to report things, and then us acting on those. And then current priorities. We're just starting producing something called a local planning enforcement plan. We have got one, but it's somewhat outdated, so we're producing a new one. This is best practice, so we're expected to have these in place. So each local planning authority is expected to have one of these in place. And it sets out how we do planning enforcement in Hounslow, what our priorities are, what you can expect from us in terms of standards, service standards and response times, etc. And it hopefully communicates that in a way that is relatively easy to understand. So plain English and try not to use too much jargon. And we're just starting that process, so we'll hopefully be able to communicate more about that soon. We're going to be doing more communication, comms around planning enforcement and how it works in Hounslow. We're maintaining and building the capacity of the team. It's really important that we keep hold of the people that we've got in the team. And when we've got the opportunity to build the capacity of the team, we will do that as best we can. Continuing to reduce the cases to below the pandemic levels. We'll continue to publicise prosecutions and direct action when we're doing that. Ensuring we respond swiftly to queries from the public. And we are in the throes of implementing a new planning IT system, or planning building control and land charges. I understand this has been coming for quite some time. It's one of the first things that was mentioned to me when I joined in December, but we are getting very close to that being ready to share more widely now. So we're in the sort of internally in the testing phase. So that is on its way, and that will really help us make our case management system even more efficient and effective than it already is, and make it more user-friendly as well for complainants. And I think that is everything. So happy to answer any questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Vincent. Councillors. There you go. Yeah, I'll speak to them all the time. I don't want to raise what I speak about, though. But thank you very much. Residents, any questions? We've got Christine, got Justin, and then Mr. Mann. You'll be your second shout, but if we can keep it brief and stick to a question mainly. Thank you.
Well, I'm obviously delighted that you're going to come up with an IT system. Could you be a bit more precise about when the timing is of that? Also, be nice to know the timing of when the enforcement plan will come in. Just as an aside to that, sorry if I'm a bit more long-winded, you did allude to the case in Isleworth. You didn't actually say that that took 10 years to the exact year to be brought to fruition. And if it hadn't been for constant reminders, it wasn't when Matt was there, I think it was before your time, the case actually got dropped in the middle, which is very, very concerning. There's also another one in Isleworth at the moment, cabinets from a monopole, where we're on 3 years now on that. So I do appreciate that it is a small team, and I do appreciate that actually I think you're very good in giving replies, but it's an awful lot of work for the resident at the other end, and so this IT system really should help your workload as well as ours. Just as another question, if I can be allowed, have you actually looked at the report form that you prefer people to use? Because sometimes it's not possible to use it, particularly flyboarding. There's no way you can fill it in because you can't fill in an address. And one of the real anomalies with it is that they retain your details, my details. When you get down and fill in your details at the end, the machine of its own accord changes the address that you're reporting to your address. And if you don't spot this, Of course, it's a complete nonsense when it reaches the enforcement things. That it really does need looking at, that form.
Thank you. Do you want to hold on to some of these and then
Yep.
answer them in one hit? Thank you, Vincent. Justin.
Hi. I'm just with where you said what the things you deal with, particularly illegal works to listed buildings. If there's a building that's being worked on that's listed and it hasn't appeared to be maintained to what it used to look like, is that something that you enforce? And if so, are you aware of what's going on with the George at the junction of South Street and Twickenham Road? Because it's not really clear to myself.
Okay. I'll keep you to one side, Charanjit and Ajit. Andy Roper. You didn't? Oh, I thought you were waving. Okay. Anyone else in the meantime? Gentleman at the back there. You can do a strike it lucky or something.
Hey, one minor suggestion is particularly about kind of misconstrusion of data. So kind of similar to the whole 10-year thing. For the graphs, it'd also be good to know comparing the prosecution totals to the number of prosecutions. Fining one person £100 million potentially sends less of a message than fining 100 people £1 million. And also, with that data, is that freely available? So the sorts of figures that you have, and is the public interest only prosecutions that are profitable?
Okay. Do you want to give those a go, please, team?
Yeah, so I'll start with the last one and then work backwards and test my memory. In terms of the prosecutions, we'll pursue the ones where we think there's a good case where we're going to win and that it's serious enough to pursue it that far. It's not about the fine. And then I think that answers the second, or the question prior to that, in terms of the ones that what determines whether we pursue them or not. And it is to do with the process that we've been through. So initially, the emphasis is always on trying to find a solution and negotiating a solution through the planning system. You would then move to, if that isn't working, an enforcement notice. There's a right to appeal an enforcement notice that can extend it further. But there will be instances where that hasn't worked, or where the breach is so egregious that we will want to pursue prosecution. But we have to be confident, relatively confident, that we'll actually succeed when we take things through the courts, because of all the level of costs that are involved in doing something like that is not insignificant. So it's the ones where we're confident that we're going to, or we've got a very good case, that we will pursue that far. Then there was a question about the George, a case that I don't know that well, so I'll hand over to Matt.
Yeah, so can you hear that? So the council has the ability to take enforcement action against property owners who aren't maintaining listed buildings properly, and we have done that in the past. In the case of the George, there is a live planning application. They're undertaking the works currently. I do need to make a site visit in the next week or so, because there's some allegations about it potentially not being weathertight. So I will be getting down there in the next wee while just to have a look at that. And I will get in contact with the owners just to make sure works are progressing along with the planning permission in mind. So I hope that answers your question.
But on the sort of more the broader point around works to listed buildings, they've got a special protection. That's the purpose of them being listed. So they've got a statutory protection, like TPOs and trees in conservation areas. Undertaking work to a listed building without consent, without the right consents in place, is a criminal offence. So it's quite a significant issue. There are also instances, and I don't know about these ones, but I've seen elsewhere examples where there's kind of willful neglect of a listed building over a period of time. But that's, again, quite a high bar to be able to demonstrate that that's what's actually happened in certain circumstances. So it's quite a high test that you have to demonstrate if you were to go as far as a prosecution that was actually what was happening, that there was willful neglect in order to effectively cause damage to a heritage asset. But like these other cases, if there's a solution that we can find working with the owner, the applicant, that avoids having to go through all the way through the courts to resolve something, then that is what we will always seek to do and it's actually for those cases that we do go as far as prosecuting, that's what the test back to us is. What did you do first before it got that far? That was the challenge back on us as officers, as a local planning authority. We have to demonstrate that we've tried everything else first, and that helps with our case. There were questions about the IT system and the form. I can't answer the specific question about the form, but we will take that away, because obviously that doesn't sound like it's working very well, and that's part of the value of us being here, is we can take that feedback. That's, you know, we need that work to work as efficiently as possible and be as user-friendly as possible, so we'll take that away. I can't commit to a date at the moment about the new IT system for planning. I can just say that it's on its way, and we'll be communicating more, hopefully, very soon about when that's going to go live. But it is genuinely on its way, but we can't commit to a specific date at the moment. And I have forgotten some of the other questions. Local enforcement plan timescale. I will hand over to Matthew on that one. Because you drafted the PID.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so an early stage, I mean, if I was to suggest early next year for something to go out to consultation, does that seem fine? Yeah, I think looking at the new year, Christine.
Look, sorry, we're running out of time, to be honest. I want to get other things in. If you've got any questions, please let us have them and or pass them on. Mr. Mann, you better just go, and then maybe you can mention... Maybe you can say something about designing out crime at some point. Quickly, lady, yeah.
Just two questions quickly. One was on the willful neglect. I don't know if Isleworth Station is listed, but I went along to the session that they, Network Rail held about the lifts, and I asked about the main station building, because it doesn't look very well looked after. And I got the impression it's basically been abandoned by them. They said there have been fires inside. So I don't know if that is a listed building, but it did come across as something that perhaps wasn't being treated with the care it should.
I don't know, but we can make a note of that and look into it.
Okay.
Certainly.
And then just very quickly, on the London Road, there's a chicken shop, and I remember coming to a session here a few years ago after there'd been some knife crime, and the police officers saying that it's not desirable to have bookmakers and chicken shops, because the bookmakers is for sort of laundering the money, and the chicken shops is for enticing the sort of young people in who then might do the sort of running with drugs and so on. And at that time, the premises had been a restaurant, was then turned into a takeaway. And I understood that that had been challenged, but it's still there sort of 3 or 4 years later, so I don't know what the end of that story was. They were presumably given permission eventually.
It was challenged. It did go to appeal, and the owners won the appeal. They're allowed to continue operating as a chicken shop there, farm fried chicken, next to the post office. Right, sorry. And anything urgent right now? Is it really urgent, Charanjit? Okay. Go on. Because we're going to run out of time.
Please, I'm just referring to changing the behavior of developers. Okay? And it's just a little joke. How here are we doing it? Okay, I'll leave it as that. I think my question is in relation to informing and engaging with public via online resources and advice. Now, my concern is that we are a very diverse borough with not everybody having digital literacy. And if you are really interested in looking after and engaging with wider communities, you have to think of other ways of also engaging.
That's a good point, and if you can take that away and maybe come back to us and come back to Bill with a comment on that. Barbara, very quickly, please.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to raise the issue of the new planning portal. Will there be some separate pages on planning enforcement cases so that we know where we are with those? I'm concerned about what appear to be slow response times to our notifications of planning infringements. So, for example, there have been a number of them with the Osterley Park Hotel where we've noticed, we've sent photographs, and then either we haven't heard or it's been a long time before a retrospective planning application has actually been put in. There's an example recently where a security booth has been put in the car park. We reported that in May. I've sent a number of emails to ask what's happening. A retrospective planning application still hasn't gone in. And my final point is the response to when there are appeal dismissals. So there's one at 339 Jersey Road at the moment. This was where they converted part of the garden into a car park, where the appeal was dismissed in May. The cars are still parked in that garden, and I would like to know why it takes so long and what will happen with examples like that. And for, we are still waiting for the result of the appeal for the kitchen extensions at the Osterley Park Hotel. That's been 15 months now. Now, almost certainly that appeal will be dismissed. And then what will be the next stages? And I assume that's going to take a long time before anything happens and before that kitchen might be demolished.
Thank you. I think we do really need a response on the whole of the Osterley Park Hotel before too long, because it just keeps dragging on. Just keeps dragging on, and it's not fair on other people that are staying there. Do you want to add to anything and give a response to that one, please?
Yeah, thank you. Barbara, you emailed a series of questions, and I think most of those were covered in there, and we've prepared responses to each of those, but I'm maybe not read through them all now. But we could send you that separately afterwards. But we've got responses on all the points, the questions that you'd raised.
Thank you, Vincent. Look, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for coming. It wasn't, we were gentle with you, obviously. We're a good bunch here, and we'll see you again sometime as well, no doubt.
Thank you, much appreciated. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks. I do apologise for not taking the open forum. Should we do that? Shall we do that now, and then we'll pick up on the parts? Mr. Cooper, someone give Mr. Cooper a mic, and then you've got, as you said, it's not a long question, and it's really more a comment. Yeah. A statement.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak here for some older people. Will the London Borough of Hounslow please appoint a cabinet-level councillor to be the champion for the borough's older people? The role would be to get early notification and discussion of changes affecting unhelpfully the lives of the elderly, in particular the very elderly and vulnerable, many without information technology, digital and communication skills, with a fear of making mistakes, particularly in financial transactions, with poor memory, especially for infrequent processes, with limited mobility, transport and family support, and all that encourages their mental health deterioration. The 21 census suggests there are about 40,000 adult residents over 65. The purpose would be to safeguard older people from any disadvantages in changes and modified plans as necessary, with more inclusive schemes before the changes get set in law and regulation. This because the London Borough of Hounslow is unable to offer any escape from the consequences of residents' failures by way of mercy for genuine mistakes or fair treatment. The High Court judgment that the London Mayor acted within his right regarding ULEZ is an example of the law in action. At a national level, Dame Esther Ranson has campaigned for a Minister for Older People and recently cited a survey indicating 2 top problems for older people are cashless parking and artificial intelligence assistance. For cost-saving reasons, we're likely to see much more semi-robotic schemes and an increasing lack of access to human staff with personal responsibility to take alternative actions. Indeed, it is already not possible to speak by phone to some LBH staff. Your call will be diverted to a voicemail responder and answered after several days. The last election pledges of greener, cleaner, healthier, more equal Hounslow are fine. The dissatisfaction seemed to come from the specific local implementations with little or no notifications and inadequate consultations. School, etc., street usage restrictions, double yellow lines, e-bike stations may serve as example. Ideally, the champion would arrange quarterly, well-advertised public meetings and get thoughtful feedback regarding possible problems and alternatives. The Treaty Centre redevelopment might be a suitable subject. Many of us think that the London Borough of Hounslow has handled the emergencies of COVID and climate change commendably well. But it seems to some that this has created a council mindset where residents should be told what is going to happen to them in the borough. Perhaps it is time to remind council that the residents pay council tax to get what we do or do not want. It's not an easy task, especially without early notification and consultation about the details of proposed changes. In conclusion, I note from the summer 22 issue of Hounslow Matters magazine, in the context of developing an equality, diversity and inclusion strategy, the council wants to engage with as many residents as possible to get their thoughts. Further therein, a cabinet councillor said, we want to ensure the voices of all our residents are heard on matters that are important to them. Thank you for hearing some thoughts of mine and others I have spoken to in recent months. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Thanks very much. I knew you were going to do this. I didn't know what you were going to say though, and that's great. I've asked Mr. Bill Lee here to let Councillor Samia Chowdhury, who's the cabinet member for older people, to about your comments, and we will meet, and I'll happily come along to that meeting with you, and Councillor Smith, if she's available, would do the same. Is that okay? And it's been noted, and Bill's got your details. Yes, your contact details. All right. Thank you very much.
If I may add a little bit, Chair, did get something slightly more encouraging on the other part of your question, Mr. Cooper, about digital exclusion. There is a transformation programme going on with a view to addressing what's the jargon calls digital exclusion. Unfortunately, I don't know how much of that is what you're asking for by restoring people on the other end of phones, and how much of that would be what would be called digital inclusion, which tends to mean getting everybody online rather than helping on ways to not necessarily pursue things online.
If we took a look at the digital voice, which is coming shortly, my concern is for people who have no mobile phone or are clumsy and inadequate with using it and have no PC to send an email. How they will get on, how they will communicate when something goes wrong with the system. It's very frightening for older people like me. I'm 88, and there are many people older than myself, and I'm trying to speak for them. They probably don't even know about their opportunities to come here and say something. I've been trying to support them in their needs for about 25 years at meetings like this.
We'll include that. We'll include that in the discussion with Councillor Samia Chowdhury. Thank you very much. Any further? What further? We've had some questions come in already. Anybody here that hasn't that would like a response at this meeting? Justin.
Thank you. Regards to future planning, what is the council's position on proposals for satellite safer neighbourhood team police officers? So like a small office for safer neighbourhood teams to use elsewhere? Because my understanding is, with Ealing Police Station being closed down in the future, it would be good if we actually had somewhere for our safer neighbourhood teams to operate from. So what's the council's position on that?
Anybody know on this? John?
Yeah, if possible, we managed to find one for the Isleworth team in the library. They've got a place they can use there to write up reports, which saves them having to go all the way back to Hounslow Police Station. I haven't checked back with them how much they're using it, but it is available for them to use, which is good news. And obviously, if we can get that spare capacity in council buildings and it's suitable, it's something we can always look at.
We're still looking for one in Osterley and Spring Grove Ward. We were kindly offered Wickham House, but apparently they don't do these. They don't operate from places where they've got licenses. It's got a bar there, but we continue to look in Osterley and Spring Grove Ward. We've had a question from two people. Is Pauline Keegan or Stina Peterson here tonight? It was about the Wood Lane level crossing and the time it takes for it to open, or the impatience of users, younger users mainly, or younger pedestrians, and also idling cars. So the response there is from the head of transport planning and road safety, Mr. Rob Heslop. He's emailed National Rail to ask if downtime has changed since the new barriers were put in last month, and what safety measures they have in place. And the council have recently sent out emails to local schools regarding railway safety following an incident at Isleworth Station in July when school children, it was the last day of term, school children spotted running across the tracks between platforms, and thankfully no one was harmed. But I think that was taken back to the school, and I don't know if I haven't caught up with the school lately. There's that, and the issue over idling. That one we're still awaiting a London-wide response to the idling. Two boroughs, I'll let you guess who they are still not agreed it, but they both begin with B and end with Y, are in the southeast of London. All right, Bromley and Bexley. Right. Osterley Park Hotel, you're going to get a response on Osterley Park Hotel, quite a detailed response, and from officers there. We've got John Cooper. We got any? I know they came today. Have we got anything for Christine Dywell on matters?
No, I've passed your query on to my colleagues in member services, who I hope will be able to put the information. Wasn't possible to answer the question in the time available, I'm afraid. Can we have a mic for Christine? If you can be
Yeah, be to the
I was
point,
just
thank
going
you.
to say, I would have thought, as there are three Isleworth councillors here, that they should be able to actually have answered the first question, which was that according to the responsibilities for this area forum, you're supposed to be carrying out walkabouts, street or service inspections and reality checks with residents and relevant local agencies to identify problems and issues. And my first question was to ask how many of these have taken place in Isleworth Ward since the last area forum and this one, and what projected ones have you got for the next period till the next forum?
Councillor Stroud-Turvey, you indicate you can respond to this.
We do regular estate inspections, walk-arounds with officers, not with residents, admittedly. We've done 2 or 3, off the top of my head, this is a moment, on Ivy Bridge, Swan Court, down...
Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm not talking about estate inspections. I'm talking about walkabouts and going around streets.
Well, that's part of it. If you want me to answer...
Okay. Well, one at a time. One at a time. I think the councillors understand. This is where I would suggest, can we get this back to you? Can we get this back to you? I have asked for a definitive list from officers on all wards on what events have taken place. That's why we've got a community development team, and they tend to tell me when they what they've done and what we've done or what I've done and what I haven't done in the ward. We'll get that to you, get a list to you, which will include what the councillors have said and have done. And the same for all 3 wards, if that's okay, and we'll minute it, and and you can raise it. We'll comment on it again in matters arising next meeting, if that's okay.
And you'll also come back on my other point, which is how this area forum is going to undertake identifying environmental improvements, priorities, and getting them funded.
Everything.
I mean, in the past, when we were IBAF, you used to have an action sheet where all the councillors were putting forward their ideas. I mean, we never heard any end results, but at least we did have a list of what was proposed.
You'll get that. That'll be on the next agenda. That'll be on the next agenda for November 30th meeting. That will be an update from the councillors who have submitted projects or carrying over from the old Isleworth and Brentford area forum. I've yet to detail it for the Hounslow South councillors, but I have had a discussion with Councillor Smith on our walkabout around that ward the other day when we were delivering flyers. But definitely, if residents ask questions, it's it'd be rude not to get responses to them. However, even if they come in on the day and we don't have the answers on the day, we'll get them to you. I can't remember what you sent, Dominic West.
Chair, my question was about cashless parking, which the previous questioner alluded to in his discussion. It's a subject which is close to the heart of many residents in this room, in the ward, in all the wards, and also the local shopkeepers and the local shopping parades. Just to give you a bit of a history, the decision to remove the parking machines was taken in 2016. Councillor Sampson was the cabinet member at the time. Things have moved on since. The machines were taken away about 2 years ago. I know Councillor Shaheen is on the case. However, 2 years have passed, and we have been struggling to get free parking for the last 2 years. I understand there was an interim arrangement suggested. That's now expired. The wardens have confirmed to me they don't keep records of anyone who may have reported. Ealing still have free parking. A lot of other boroughs still have free parking. Really, we want to know what's going on. My suggestion is, can you reinstate the machines where they're still there? They haven't been disconnected, they've just been switched off. Can we actually get something, back in action sooner rather than later? We don't want to have to wait months and years. We want bread today and jam, not jam tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I'll bring Councillor Shaheen in. I did register my car very recently with with that telephone number that I was given, and it was accepted. So I haven't had a ticket yet. Not that I use it a lot in local shops, but I have, and I've registered an elderly person's car as well, re-registered an elderly person's car who uses a pharmacy at Thornbury Road. But Salman.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dominic, for the question. I'm probably jumping the gun a bit by telling you this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Good news. We are going to introduce a solution which will be involving card payments or card registration on machines on the streets for parking and for your free parking as well. It's a similar system to the borough that Richmond uses, and obviously you can still continue to pay by phone. Most people are using that successfully, but I do recognise, following the implementation of this system, that there are some people who are digitally excluded from that, and that's not acceptable to me. So we are going to have physical on-street methods for you to get your tickets, free ticketing or paid for ticketing, and that'll be using machines with a card reader attached to them. We're going to be trialling that system fairly soon. I've already seen a draft report that we've been working on, and we'll be coming forward with that as soon as possible.
I did try in the Montague Road car park a few weeks ago, and after about 5 minutes, I kid you not, on the phone, it was impossible to do it because the menu doesn't speak to you in a language you can understand. I don't know if anyone in this room has tried it. I do urge upon you to try it, because I'm not making this up. Do go home, dial the number and try it, and if you succeed, I'll buy you a pint. Thank you very much.
Well, I assume that many people have succeeded, but I don't know how long it would have taken them. You got some kind of time scale on that, Salman?
I don't have a precise timescale, but as I say, the report, we have put together the report, and we're looking at bringing it in the very near future, the initial trial of it.
Okay, this is a great area to trial it in. Would be. All right, thank you. Look, is that okay if we leave it there with the questions and bring our parks people in? You got their presentation up there, Gary? All right, cheers. Right, thank you. Can I introduce Gay Galvin, Head of Parks at London Borough of Hounslow, and Liam Moore, who leads on parks management from the operations side with Green Space. You got 5 minutes, and we'll ask you, focus it on this area if you like. Not if you like, I would appreciate it. Take it away. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Lukey. So, good evening, everybody. My name is, Councillor Lukey said, is Gay Galvin. I'm the Head of Parks Development and Green Infrastructure. To my right,
Liam Moore, Head of Service for Green Space.
Okay, so we're going to just give you a bit of a whistle-stop tour through some of the activity that we've been up to in parks and open spaces. This is our wonderful postcards that we have produced, that we're giving out at different community events. You might have seen some earlier. Lots of snapshots of Hounslow at its best. So, parks and open spaces. So, for those of you that don't know, there is a council, an LBH Parks Development team, who I manage, and we work with Lambton Services Green Space to deliver the council's park service. We said who we are, and how are our parks managed in Hounslow? So my team oversees parks improvement projects, and those who use the council's parks and open spaces would have probably seen over the years a number of improvement projects taking place around the borough. So we try our hardest to work with people, stakeholders, find funding, and engage communities and improve basically our parks. And that's through a range of different sort of projects and activities that we work on. And Lambton Services Green Space oversee the day-to-day management of the park service. So there is a difference, but we are in constant communication. We constantly talk and constantly work together, because ultimately whatever my team improves, Liam's team and the Green Space team look after for us, as well as, of course, the community get involved as well. So the priorities for the park service, so this is the development team that I look after. So we have an overriding strategy, the Green Infrastructure Strategy, and the priorities are within that are nature recovery, tree management, investment and funding opportunities, master planning, some of our large parks, places to grow food spaces. We're also working on diversity and inclusion, so we're trying to reach out to communities through various communication activities, attending events, online workshops, focus groups, consultations, all sorts of items. We work with the community. We work with the police and the community safety team on community safety initiatives and designing out crime. We work to provide volunteering opportunities through different activities in parks, and we try and obviously work on community empowerment, because we work with park users and they tell us and help us to look after our parks. We also have an active and we're also working towards active and well-maintained spaces. Again, we're trying to make them as accessible and safe as they can be, and working with other agencies to do that. We're obviously looking at placemaking so that local residents can feel that they've helped to improve parks with us, and they are relevant to the place that they're placed in. We work towards Green Flag Awards and the standards that provides. We currently have 19 green flags in Hounslow. We also work with the events team and the communications team on events and celebrations. So we are doing what we can to promote parks, to get people out to enjoy them, but celebrate them at the same time. And gaining in terms of communication, we promote who we are, and the Green Space 360 team, or Green Space, they promote who they are by being visible. You've seen them probably in your parks, in their outfits and their uniforms, and obviously with their vehicles as well. We have information on the website that you can go to. We have social media, and we also have signage and communications. And one of the big things that we're doing this year and next year is we're replacing all of the signage in all of the parks around Hounslow. So you'll be able to see new welcoming signage with different sort of ways that you can get in contact with us as well. Some of those signs will have notice boards where we can display posters as well. So I'm going to hand over to Liam, who's going to give you a bit of information about Lambton Services Green Space activities.
Evening all. Sorry, just to give you a quick update, there's some faces out here that I know and some that I don't. But just a quick overview here on the slides, just in terms of some of our performance. So in looking at our litter and refuse, I know a few of you contact me pretty much every weekend about litter and refuse problems in the parks, and Tony Lukey's included in that. We can see that so far this year I've only had 15 service requests for this ward in relation to 1,444 scheduled collections for parks. So there's been a huge improvement in the service requests that we're receiving based on the service we're providing. On the right-hand side, we've got the total service requests for the wards this year for the online form system, and that accounts for about 68% of reports into the parks, and that's your top 5 there reported in your wards. So traveller incursions, fly tipping, trees, hazardous waste, and antisocial behaviour. So obviously we're working with all the different partnerships to make sure we can address some of them issues. On the bottom right, you see the core that we've got there. So we've just recently launched our group core values and C is for customer, which is obviously why we're here tonight, and we'll be attending the Friends Forums. And it's very much about getting feedback from our customers, which are obviously everyone in the room today, including our councillors and our clients, and using the feedback that we get from you to drive the improvements and the changes we make in our operational delivery. So I look forward to engaging with you all a little bit more on that. Sorry, just running through because I'm conscious of the time. One thing I did want to mention was play inspections. I know that's come up. We've had 2 accidents in 2 separate parks in the ward over the last 4 weeks. So I just wanted to give reassurance to everybody that we do twice weekly inspections on our playgrounds. We have an operational inspection that's carried out on quarter 1, 3 and 4, and then we have an independent ROSPA inspection that's carried out annually, which is in quarter 2, the end of quarter 2. Both of the accidents, every part of play has an element of risk, so I can't say that it's completely safe, but they are safer areas. But just wanted to reassure everybody on that while we're here. It seems important to the ward. And I'll let Gay continue.
Okay, thanks, Liam. So we were asked to just give a bit of a snapshot of some projects in Hounslow South, Isleworth and Osterley, and I've snuck a few others in there as well I'm proud of. Okay, so Northcote Nature Reserve. So for those of you who may know this site, right on the edge of the borough over in Isleworth, Northcote Nature Reserve has had a major transformation and it is now complete. It's been handed back to Lambton Services Green Space, but the site is going to remain closed to the public until spring 2024 to allow for the rich mosaic of newly constructed habitats to mature. And the Parks team are continuing engagement with the Friends of Northcote Nature Reserve and other interested groups who wish to work with us on the sort of ongoing development of that site. When it opens next year, I would say go down there because it's a beautiful little haven right by the edge of the River Crane. Inwood Water Play, I've just snuck that in because we're quite pleased with this one. We've completely transformed a space that was quite derelict in Inwood Park, and we've now got a little splash park. We opened it this summer and it was hugely popular. Lots of young families have been using that. It is for under 8s only, and it will close in the winter, but a really good addition to the play facilities in that site. Isleworth Cemetery Gates, we've done a bit of work around Isleworth Cemetery, working with the Isleworth Society, and obviously Christine as well has been involved in a lot of that. So we've done a lot of restoration around railings and piers in there as well. We've had some active volunteering opportunities. We've had the TCV Green Gym in Thornbury Park and Jersey Gardens, and these are a once weekly activity where volunteers sign up to the TCV, come along, and there is a project manager who leads them on active work activities. And they've done an enormous amount of work in both of those sites. And we're really pleased with how that project has gone over the past year. Jersey Gardens, we've had some improvements in Jersey Gardens. We've had some picnic benches installed by the Friends of Jersey Gardens. We've also put a new green hedge around the playground, which we are really pleased with how that's turned out. And I think we are discussing how we can use that in other parks and open spaces as well. So that's instead of using lots of steel where we can, we're trying to sort of green up and increase biodiversity value as well of our sites. Thornbury Park, back to Thornbury Park, we've done some more work by extending the orchard. We've been working with the Friends group there quite actively, and again with the TCV to clear areas which were pretty overgrown, and we've also updated the signage for the orchard. Farnell Road, open space, we've delivered on phase 1 of this programme, and this was around, we did some consultation around how we can improve the space, and we have installed a new natural play area with a maze and logs, and we've done some site-wide tree and hedge planting. We're currently working on phase 2, which is being prepared for us to go out for tender. So watch this space and we'll let you have more information on that as that progresses. And that's pretty much the sort of sites that I thought you might be interested in, but it's just to obviously confirm at the end how you get to us. So if you have an issue or something you want to report in a park, you can do that via the council's website. There is a report it form. You can email parks@Hounslow. You can call the contact centre. We do like to try and keep it to those, but of course we understand that not everybody can get to us via the digital means. So the phone number to the website, to the contact centre is also possible as well. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Gay and Liam. Any questions, comments from councillors? Tom?
Yeah, just comments to say, fantastic work. I think it's really appreciated, certainly in Hounslow South on Farnell Field. My children love playing on it as well, and I know the Inwood, I'm glad you put up the Inwood Park water play thing, because I know that was really appreciated. The school, my wife's the deputy head at the school down the road there, and she said it was incredibly popular when it was there in the summer and kids going after school and stuff, and that she knows that the kids have been there. So really, really positive things, and it's really nice to see all the work that's going on. And I was going to ask about phase 2 on Farnell Field, but you put it up, and so I'm looking forward to that coming through as well. Thank you.
I'm pleased with Jersey Gardens, very much so, and we have in the past had a number of meetings down there. Yourself and I, Gay, with the Friends of Jersey Gardens, and a lot of it's forgotten that it has been forgotten that there's a lot of young people that use it, families, and because it's a safe park there, even more safe now when you've particularly separated the kids from the dogs. At the southern part of the play area, and appreciate that. And there's also the ongoing works at Thornbury Park. I'll declare an interest as the chair of Thornbury Park Friends, but the work that's done by my colleague John O'Brien, and the work that we've been doing with of late, even with the Middlesex County Cricket, Middlesex Cricket on some other improvements. So there's much more to do there down at Thornbury Park. But always appreciate the efforts, and particularly the team that go down there, and the hard work of the tree teams is very good. Although we would like a bit more notice on what, I think I've been asking that for the last 9 years as councillor, but what are your work plans for every year? And I'd like to see that at some point soon. I'm looking at the cabinet member for parks, but so that we can be involved in deciding as friends groups what goes on, and what is a priority for us as well as the council. Any questions from up there? Yeah, happy with your parks? Lady there, you at the front. Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Yeah, use the mic.
Is the voluntary work still going to go ahead? The voluntary work, Green Gym, is that still going? Green Gym?
Yeah. I'll. Any other questions? We'll get you the answer on that. Gay?
Yeah, so we had 3 green gyms that were being run by the TCV, the Trust for Conservation Volunteers, one in Isleworth, one in Jersey Gardens, one in Thornbury Park. So they were funded for 1 year, and that funding has now finished. So they actually, the delivery of those green gyms has now finished. But we know that people are really interested in volunteering and working with us in our parks. So we're looking at other ways in how we can, provide those opportunities. We know the TCV are looking at another funding bid, and even with Lambton Services, we're also looking at other opportunities around green gyms. So watch this space, but for the moment, those green gyms have finished. There are other locations that you can go to and join in on a green gym. And if you also look on the TCV's website, they also have other green gyms in the area that you can join. Okay.
Thank you. Lady there in the front there.
You mentioned the new signposts for the parks, and I just wondered how much that was going to cost, because, well, I use St John's Gardens, and the signage there seems perfectly fine. Maybe a suggestion, a splash park in St John's Gardens would be great, because there's lots of primary schools in the area, and it would be a really good use of money, I think, to have something like that there.
So the signage project has been a few years in the making, and it is about a rebranding of our parks and open spaces, because even though the sign is relatively good in St John's, some of the other sites are pretty bad. They are really, really bad. They've had to be removed, taken out. They've been vandalised so much they're just you just cannot read anything. They look shocking, and they bring the site down. So we've had, it's been a priority to make sure that we show that somebody is looking after looking after our parks, that people know who to contact if there is an issue. And to do that across the board, we're going to be replacing all of the signs. Now, that doesn't mean to say that maybe the one in St John's Garden, I think you've got a notice board, we might be able to reuse that for a Friends community board, because we do have them in other parks, but the main signage will be replaced. And we did a pilot of that in Redleys Park about two years ago. So if you want to have a look at what the signage looks like, then there are examples in Redleys Park, and they're starting to appear all over the borough as well. Oh, well, the splash parks are not cheap. They're really not. And there's no, because we have that one in Inwood, it's a new project for us. That's pretty much one of the only one, well, we've got Duke's Meadows as well. That's run by the trust over there. But we have no other plans to put a splash park in at the moment. They are expensive, and also there's a revenue implication for them as well. But we have worked in St John's Gardens to put lots of sculptures in, and the children from the local school helped do the designs, and then a sculpture artist came in and carved, etc. But at the moment, I don't think it's something we would necessarily do in St John's Gardens.
All right, thanks. Christine?
Just first of all, a thank you to Liam. We had a very unwelcome visit by over 20 caravans in Redleys Park, and although they weren't there that long, they left a residue of a lot of litter, which Liam had the team out at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning, so thanks very much for that. Just a slight reservation about the signage for all the parks. A reminder that when this was discussed before, one size doesn't fit all. The sort of signage that's in Redleys, which incidentally you need to be a little bit more accurate about, I don't think, and others agree, that kind isn't suitable in, say, a park like Silverhall, where it's more a nature type of area and a very small park. So I hope that will be taken into consideration. I can understand why you want certain branding, but I do think you need to look at individual sites a bit.
We have looked at individual sites, and we have looked to make sure they are appropriate for the setting. So some of our large countryside sites will be different, because actually they need to be, they need to be relevant. They need to feel part of what's there. I can't recall what Silverhall will be, but I can ask the project officer who's working on that how that will be and the type. There's been a lot of work going on around, getting rid of the unnecessary signage, trying to tidy up, declutter, and just make the signage as appropriate for the size of the park as well. So I'll find out for you on Silverhall. Thanks, Christine.
All right, thanks. Thank you very much for that. Good luck with all the work. I'll second that on the intrusions to the parks as well. We had it down at following on from the intrusion on the Sky Car Park on Isleworth. We did have an event on White Green in Osterley Spring Grove Ward, and that got cleared up quite quickly, and some of the trees that got trashed, young trees that got trashed, we're able to replant them. We're looking forward to the other two being replaced later on this year. But thanks very much. You always keep an eye out for these things. All right. Let's just catch up on the minutes from the meeting on the Thank you. Thanks again. Let's catch up on the minutes from the meeting on the 6th of July. Any comments on that from members? Yeah, I see a thumbs up over there. Yeah, okay. Should we approve them? Any matters arising on any of these? Yeah, yeah. Christine? Thank you. Christine?
Yeah, two points on matters arising. Under the Thriving Communities presentation, I think it was point 4, what's been the result of the investigations that Miss Hutchinson said she would put in course over changing the application form is one. And the other one was on the, I think it was item 5, Force presentation. There was going to be a meeting between officers, members and Force about the west of the borough and the plan to build on Greenbelt. Be nice if we could have some feedback on those. The same as it would be nice to have some feedback on what you got from the feedback forms last time.
That's a good point on the feedback forms, and I always ask for them, and we get them eventually. And so on the Thriving Communities application forms, they are being adapted to reflect your comments, and will be launching. Now I think that's available in the launch. They'll be available. The changes will be seen in the launch of the new grants funding, so that has been taken into account. I understand that there is ongoing discussion between Force and the planners on the west of the borough plan. Councillor Bruce might know a little bit more, but I think that's the discussions are ongoing, not just for a meeting on that matter, but on other matters and the development of the new area plan. Am I right, Tom? No, I can't say it again. I don't remember. It was at the last meeting. At the last meeting, you weren't here, but the last meeting there were comments from Friends of the River Crane Environment and others regarding the west of the borough plan and the Greenbelt review of the Greenbelt, and they wanted to have a meeting. I think you might have been having a meeting, or there might have been some discussion planned.
Yeah. So this is to do with the local plan. So I mean, it's really late. Essentially, local plan was developed in 2015. We were asked to create these 2 additional area reviews by the inspector. That took quite a while to come through. COVID happened, a number of different things. When we went back to the inspector last year, we were asked, actually, can you look again at certain aspects? The decision we've taken is that we're technically withdrawing all of the local plan, although it still sits in the original form. All of the new bits are technically withdrawn, and we're going to resubmit at some point next year. The period between now and that resubmission means we need to go through 2 consultation processes. One, which is starting soon, is about asking views on combining all of the parts of the local plan. That's the first bit. And the second bit for next year will be asking about the detail of the new local plan. The majority of the previous local plan will still be maintained, but there will be tweaks to it. The more tweaks there are, the longer the consultation period will be and the longer things will take. In terms of engaging with local groups and residents, whoever that is, we are keen to do that, but it's very important we do that in the right way as part of the process, and that people say things at the right time. Because what we don't want to do is, I don't want officers to have feeling they have to commit to things outside of those periods, but I do want to give enough space to people to say what they think. I'm trying to think of the guy from Friends of the River Crane. Is it Rob something?
Yes. It was Rob Gray.
Rob Gray, that's who he is. I have said to him, I am willing to meet him and various other groups with officers at the appropriate point, and we'll set up a meeting to do so. That is essentially the undertaking you're asking, but I want to frame it in the sense that it's not going to be immediate, but it will be in the time appropriate. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. So lead member for planning has spoken to Rob Gray, based on following on from our conversation, because I do know that Bill wrote to Councillor Bruce and Vincent on this. Is that okay? Thank you. Right, look, anything else from anybody? Any other business? Good. All right, thanks for coming. We've got some feedback forms at the with our officers on the side there, and we'll be collating the feedbacks, and publishing them. So, by all means, come again. See you on the 30th of November if you like. I don't know if we'll do it here. We probably will. It's becoming a home, really. It's a convenient spot with all the buses, transport links, car parks, good food, good people, comfy seats. Thank you very much. All right.